The neon signs of New Terra's entertainment district flickered against the falling snow, casting kaleidoscopic shadows across the bustling streets. It was Christmas Eve, 2847, and the colony world buzzed with an energy that transcended species barriers. Humans, Draconians, Centauri, and dozens of other races mingled in the holiday chaos, their breath forming crystalline clouds in the frigid air. Melissa sat alone in the corner booth of the Starlight Calf, her scaled fingers wrapped around a cup of draconian spice tea that had long gone cold. The iridescent scales along her cheekbones shimmered under the ambient lighting, deep emerald fading to silver at her jawline. Her wings, folded tightly against her back beneath her thermal coat, twitched with barely concealed anxiety. She checked her neural implant for the 15th time. 8:47 p.m. He was 47 minutes late. Around her, couples laughed and shared intimate moments. A Xanthari pair exchanged bioluminescent gifts. Human families gathered around holographic Christmas trees. And here she was, a decorated Draconian Imperial Guard officer, waiting for a blind date, who apparently had no intention of showing up. Typical human, she muttered, though without real venom. Her translator implant caught the words and would have broadcast them if she'd spoken louder. She'd heard the stories humans were unreliable, emotional, reckless. Yet her friend Kira had insisted Jack was different. He's been through the siege of Proxima, Kira had said. Changed him, made him understand what matters. Melissa was about to leave when the cafe door burst open with enough force to trigger the entrance alarms. A figure stumbled in, covered in snow and what looked distinctly like ash. The patrons fell silent as Jack limped through the doorway. He was a mess. His formal jacket, clearly an attempt at dressing up, was torn at the shoulder, revealing a glimpse of the military-grade cybernetic arm beneath. His face bore fresh bruises, and there was soot smeared across his forehead. But his eyes, those distinctly human eyes of deep brown, scanned the room with desperate urgency until they locked onto Melissa. "I am so sorry," Jack gasped, approaching her table. Other patrons whispered and stared, some reaching for their personal shields. A human war veteran, clearly just from a fight, was not a reassuring sight in a peaceful cafe. Melissa's combat training had her hand halfway to her plasma pistol before she recognized the genuine remorse in his expression. "You're an hour late," she said, her voice cold enough to frost the air. "And you look like you fought your way through a battalion to get here." "Close," Jack said, collapsing into the seat across from her. Up close, she could see he was trembling not from fear, but from exhaustion. There was a fire. Residential complex, 10 blocks from here. Electrical malfunction in one of the old human model heating units. Melissa's amber eyes narrowed. "And you were there because I was on my way here," Jack explained, signaling the waiter for water. His voice was hoarse from smoke inhalation. "I was actually early, believe it or not. Wanted to make a good impression. Then I heard the alarms, saw the smoke. The emergency services were delayed because of the holiday traffic." He looked directly at her, and she saw something in those human eyes that transcended species of bone-deep weariness, coupled with absolute conviction. There were kids inside. Melissa, Xanthari younglings on the 3rd floor. Their parents were at the community celebration. The cafe had gone quiet. Everyone was listening now. "The building's structure was compromised," Jack continued, accepting the water from a nervous waiter. "Fire suppression systems were offline. I got them out to all 7 of them. But it took time. My communicator got fried in the heat, couldn't even send you a message." He gestured to his torn jacket. "And clearly I'm not exactly date-ready anymore." Melissa studied him for a long moment. Her people, the Draconians, valued honor above all else. They had been allies with humanity for 3 decades. Ever since the Convergence Wars, but there was always a cultural distance. Draconians were methodical, calculating. Humans were something else entirely. "You could have left," she said quietly. "Let the professionals handle it. Made it to our date on time." Jack's laugh was bitter. "Yeah, I could have, and those kids would be dead." Professional response time was estimated at 12 minutes. The building collapsed in 9. He met her gaze steadily. "I know this makes me look unreliable. I know you probably think humans are all impulsive idiots who can't keep commitments, and maybe you're right, but I couldn't live with myself if I'd walked past that fire just to be punctual for a date." The silence stretched between them. Outside, snow continued to fall on New Terra, each flake a tiny crystal catching the light of 2 suns that had set hours ago. Then Melissa did something that surprised even herself. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes made of metal. "Humanity. Fuck yeah," she said, using the phrase that had become legendary across the galactic community. The battle cry of a species, too stubborn to know when they were beaten, too compassionate to walk away from danger, too foolishly brave to calculate the odds before diving into impossible situations. Jack blinked. What? It's what the other species say about your people, Melissa explained, signaling the waiter. 2 orders of the Christmas special, and something strong for my date. He's earned it. She turned back to Jack, her scaled features softening into what might have been a smile. You're an hour late, covered in ash, and you smell like smoke and burned electronics. You're also exactly where you should be here. Now, having made the choice that mattered, Jack's tension visibly melted. So, we're still on. We're still on, Melissa confirmed. But you're telling me the whole story, every detail, and then you're telling me about Proxima. As Jack began to speak, his words painting pictures of fire and rescue, Melissa found herself leaning forward, genuinely captivated. Around them, the cafe slowly resumed its normal rhythm, but several patrons sent drinks to their table. A Zenthari couple whose younglings had been at that very community celebration, a human family who recognized a veteran when they saw one. Outside, the snow fell heavier, blanketing New Terra in white. Inside the Starlight Calf, a draconian warrior and a human veteran shared stories of battles and choices, of honor and sacrifice. The date had started an hour late, but as midnight approached and Christmas Day dawned across the colony world, neither of them noticed the time anymore. Some things, Melissa realized, were worth waiting for, and humans, for all their chaotic unpredictability, understood something fundamental about what it meant to be truly alive. Sometimes you had to be late for the right reasons. Jack smiled at her across the table, and she smiled back, her scales shimmering like stars. It was, she decided, the best blind date she'd ever had.